There are days when everything feels like too much. You wake up with the feeling that you're already behind, even though the sun has just risen. You check your phone before you even breathe, and there are already messages, tasks, and notifications demanding that you be productive, fast, perfect. Not even an hour has passed, and your body is tense, your mind is racing, your breathing is shallow. We call it stress, but stress doesn't always come from the outside. Often, you create it yourself inside your head when you forget that you have the power to stop. The Stoic knew this. The world doesn't calm down, you do. And when you calm down, the world changes size. What seemed enormous becomes manageable. What seemed urgent stops being so. Controlling stress isn't about removing responsibilities, escaping the noise, or living without pressure. It's about learning to govern yourself in the midst of it all. It's about understanding that stress doesn't destroy you, your reaction does. The Stoic method for controlling stress begins in one place, the interpreting mind. Not the situation, not the problem, but the thought that judges it. What stresses you isn't the unread email, the uncomfortable call, or the endless to-do list. What stresses you is the story you tell yourself about it. I won't be able to. This will go wrong. I have to do it perfectly. Stress doesn't live in the world. It lives in your opinion of the world. Marcus Aurelius summarized it in a simple phrase. If it is within your power, do it. If it is not, accept it. That line divides life in two. On one side, what you can do. On the other, what you can only accept. Most people exhaust themselves because they live on the wrong side. They spend energy trying to control what doesn't depend on them. That's where anxiety is born, where exhaustion grows, where calm dies. The first step of the Stoic method is to separate control. Do it mentally every morning, 2 invisible columns. In the first, everything that depends on you, your attitude, your rhythm, your breathing, your words, your decisions. In the second, everything else, the results, others' opinions, the weather, traffic, the past, the future. Each time you feel on edge, check which column you're spending your energy on. If it's the second, let it go. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust the sails. The second step is to breathe with intention. It's not about breathing just because you have to, but about using air as medicine. Stress alters your breathing, and breathing can alter your stress. When you're tense, your body breathes short and fast. It tells your brain there's danger, even if there isn't. But when you breathe deeply, the body reports, "We are safe." And the mind believes it. There is no reflection possible in a tense body. That's why the Stoic starts with the body before the mind. Do it now. Inhale through your nose for 6 seconds. Feel the air rise into your chest, and exhale for another 6. Do it 8 times. Don't think, just breathe. As you do, notice how your body changes tone. The pulse slows, the shoulders drop, the mind stops running. You don't need to control the world, only the air moving in and out of you. That's what Epictetus meant by govern what is within your power. The air always is. The third step is to understand the cycle of stress. It doesn't appear out of nowhere. It has a structure like a storm. First comes pressure. Something demands more than you think you have. Then comes tension. The body activates to respond. And finally comes mental resistance. I shouldn't feel like this. That third stage does the most harm. It's not stress that breaks you. It's the guilt for being stressed. The Stoics knew this. Feeling is not an error, it's information. When you understand the cycle, you can intervene. Don't try to eliminate pressure or deny tension. Just cut the resistance. Instead of telling yourself, I shouldn't be so stressed, try, it's normal to feel this way. That phrase disarms the cycle. It lets you process instead of fight. Stress decreases when you stop fighting your own reaction. Everyone has a point where stress turns into noise. At that point, everything irritates you. Everything feels heavy. Everything seems too much. If you reach that point, it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of disconnection. You've been outside yourself too long, fulfilling, fixing, running. The body begins to ask you to come back inside, and that's exactly what the Stoic method teaches. Return to yourself. Not to escape the world, but to face it from your center. Remember this, you can't calm a racing mind by talking to it with more thoughts. You can only calm it with presence. Don't try to think your way out of stress. Breathe your way out. Thought is fire. Breath is water. If you don't pour water, it burns higher. That's why the Stoic doesn't aim to be right. He aims to be in control. And control doesn't begin with an idea. It begins with a breath. There's a phrase you should engrave in your mind. There is no stress in the present. Think about it. Stress lives in only two places, in what has already happened or in what might happen. Here, now, there is nothing to fear. There is only air coming in and going out. When you return to the present, stress dissolves because it has nowhere to hold on. That's why Stoic practice isn't theory. It's return to the body, to the breath, to the moment. Stress isn't the enemy, it's the alarm. It shows you where you're losing control, and by learning to listen, it stops ruling you. That's the key to the Stoic method. Don't run from discomfort. Use it as a guide. If it hurts, observe. If it speeds you up, breathe. If it blocks you, act slowly. Every reaction you manage to pause is an invisible victory that strengthens your mind. When the day ends, don't wonder if you did enough. Ask yourself this instead. Did I keep my center? That question is more valuable than any to-do list, because if you kept your center, you did everything that mattered. The rest can wait. The fourth step of the Stoic method to control stress is to reinterpret pressure. Most people don't suffer because of what happens to them, but because of what they think it means. Something small happens, a delay, an unanswered email, a strange look, and the mind turns it into a threat. Something's going to go wrong. This shouldn't be happening. This can't be happening to me. But none of that is true yet. They're only interpretations. The Stoic understands that he cannot control what happens, but he can control the meaning he gives it. And that meaning changes everything. Imagine this. You face a day full of pending tasks, pressure at work, family commitments, and little time. You can think, this is too much, I can't handle it. Or you can think, this is an opportunity to test my calm. The situation is the same. The difference is who interprets it. Stress doesn't depend on what happens, but on the lens through which you view it. When you change the lens, you change the feeling, not because the problems disappear, but because you regain the power to choose your response. Epictetus taught it this way. It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about things. Every thought is a seed. Plant one of complaint, and you'll harvest tension. Plant one of acceptance, and you'll harvest calm. You don't need blind belief in anything. Just observe how you feel after each thought. That is your compass. If a thought contracts you, let it go. If it expands you, keep it. The fifth step is to train the body as an anchor. The mind and body are one single conversation. You can't calm the mind if the body is collapsing, and you can't relax the body if your mind is still at war. That's why when stress takes hold of you, don't start by thinking, start by moving. Walk slowly, roll your shoulders, unclench your jaw. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Your body has memory, and when you teach it calm, the mind imitates it. A tense body is a trapped mind. When the body opens, the mind breathes. The Stoic doesn't disdain the body. He uses it as a tool, because he understands that mastery is not only mental, it's physical, respiratory, and postural. The tense mind lives in a contracted body. That's why stress makes you feel small. But when you correct your posture, your chest expands, your breath lengthens, and suddenly everything seems more possible. It's not magic. It's biology aligned with philosophy. If you feel like the day is crushing you, do this. Stop, feet firm, shoulders back, chin high, inhale deeply. You're not running from stress, you're facing it. That posture, simple and powerful, tells your nervous system, we're in command. And you are. Because you can't control the traffic, the messages, or the people, but you can control how you stand before them. Every time you choose presence over haste, you gain a centimeter of mastery, and those centimeters accumulated make for a lighter life. Stress visits to remind you where you lost control. When you accept it, it stops being an enemy. It's just a messenger showing you which part of yourself needs attention. The problem isn't feeling stressed. It's not listening to it in time. You ignore it, cover it with more work, more screens, more distractions. But the body doesn't forget. It stores it until it screams. The Stoics didn't wait for the scream. They cultivated calm before it was necessary. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every morning. Before leaving his room, he told himself, "Today I will meet ungrateful, selfish, unjust, jealous people." He didn't do it to feel discouraged, but to prepare himself. Anticipating difficulty gives you an advantage. It surprises you less. It drains you less. If you know pressure will come, you're not offended when it does. That's the strategy of mastery. Expect everything. React to nothing. Stress multiplies when you refuse to accept that the world doesn't follow your timing. The email doesn't arrive when you want. People don't respond as you expect. Things don't always go as planned. The Stoic doesn't complain about that. He uses it. Every delay is a lesson in patience. Every obstacle a test of temperance. Stress dissolves when you turn it into practice. This too trains my calm. Repeat it as many times as you need. Another Stoic technique for controlling stress is negative visualization, imagining the worst with serenity. Not as pessimism, but as preparation. Seneca did it every morning. He thought of what could go wrong, of possible losses, of the day's discomforts. In doing so, fear shrank and gratitude grew. When you accept that bad things may happen and remain calm anyway, you free yourself from fear of the future. What comes no longer dominates you because you already faced it in your mind. Try the exercise now. Think about what worries you most this week. Imagine it going wrong. Visualize the consequences, the emotions, the discomfort. Breathe. Are you still alive? Then you can handle it. Stress decreases when you stop imagining it as a catastrophe and see it as a manageable scenario. It's not about wishing for the worst, but about stripping it of its power, because nothing is as frightening as the unexpected. Remember, stress isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something matters to you. If you didn't care, you wouldn't feel anything. That's why the goal isn't to eliminate stress, but to transform it, to use it as fuel. Fire doesn't only burn, it also warms. Stress, when managed well, can push you to act, to improve, to grow. But if you don't master it, it consumes you. The Stoic method teaches you how to use the fire without getting burned. And when you start doing that, you'll notice something strange. The world doesn't change, but you do. The same people, the same challenges, the same tasks. And yet everything feels different. It no longer drains your energy because it no longer takes your power. You've gone from being a victim of pressure to being its master. That's true calm, not the absence of chaos, but the ability to remain in the middle of it without losing yourself. The modern mind has confused rest with distraction, but rest isn't escape, it's recovery of direction. You don't need to flee from the world to find peace. You need to govern yourself within it. Controlling stress isn't about avoiding what hurts, it's about choosing how to respond. And every time you choose with calm, stress loses a bit more power. The sixth step, the quietest and also the most forgotten, is to accept the rhythm of life. Every stress is born from resistance. You want things to happen faster or slower than they do. You want immediate results, absolute certainties, paths without obstacles. But life doesn't adjust to your calendar. When you understand that, tension dissolves. The Stoic doesn't demand that the world adapt to him. He adapts to the world. And in that flexibility he finds strength. Stress isn't conquered by pushing harder, but by letting go a little. There is a calm that appears only when you stop needing to be right all the time, when you give up trying to control the uncontrollable. Acceptance isn't surrender, it's clarity. It isn't resignation, it's lucidity. The one who accepts can act with wisdom. The one who resists only reacts. That difference marks the border between anxiety and serenity. Imagine a rope pulled too tight. Sooner or later it snaps. That's the mind when you force it beyond its rhythm. The body knows this, which is why it sends you signals. Short breaths, neck pain, fatigue without reason. Don't ignore them. The body doesn't complain, it warns. And if you listen in time, you won't need to reach the breaking point. Mastery begins when you take pauses before they become urgent. Seneca said, "He who rules himself rules the world." And that mastery doesn't begin with big decisions, but with small ones. Choosing to breathe before responding, stopping before exploding, listening before imposing. Every pause you take in the face of stress is a declaration of power. It's the instant when you move from reacting to deciding. And in that second, you reclaim your inner command. A Stoic mind isn't cold, it's stable. It feels everything but drowns in nothing. When there's joy, it enjoys without clinging. When there's pain, it observes without sinking. That mind doesn't deny emotions, it guides them. It knows that stress doesn't disappear. It transforms into useful energy when there's direction. That's why the Stoics lived with purpose. He who has a why can endure any how. Your stress needs purpose. If you're just running, you'll burn out. But if you're running towards something, you'll grow stronger. Change the phrase "I have to" "I choose to." Not "I have to work," but "I choose to work because it brings me closer to my goal." Not "I have to care for someone," but "I choose to because I love." That single word, choose, transforms burden into decision. And when you decide, stress becomes momentum. Sometimes the greatest act of control is to stop. The modern world glorifies speed, but the Stoic values the pause. Not because he despises movement, but because he knows that without direction, speed only multiplies chaos. Calm isn't inactivity, it's spiritual efficiency. Acting from calm means doing the same with less strain. Saying only what's needed, moving only as necessary, worrying only as much as required. And when you start living like that, you'll discover something the world's noise had stolen from you. Inner silence, that space where there's no urgency, no complaints, no fear. Only you, breathing in peace, knowing that whatever happens, you'll be able to respond with temperance. That's the Stoic method, not a magic formula, but a daily training in self-governance. Now stop for a moment and ask yourself, what things steal my calm each day? Write them down without filter. Maybe it's a person, a situation, an expectation. Look at them one by one and classify them. Can I control this or not? The ones you can't, let them go. The ones you can, act with serenity. That's your journaling practice for today, turning noise into clarity. Your 24-hour challenge is simple but powerful. Every time you feel tension, before reacting, apply the 5 steps of the Stoic method. 1. Separate what you control. 2. Breathe with intention. 3. Reinterpret pressure. 4. Use the body as an anchor. 5. Accept the rhythm of life. Do it just once, consciously, and you'll see how your day changes, not because the world calmed down, but because you did. If you've made it this far, remember, controlling stress isn't living without problems, it's living with inner power. Calm isn't found, it's trained, and the more you train it, the harder it is to lose. The Stoics didn't wait for tranquility, they built it. With every guarded thought, every deep breath, every lucid acceptance. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who lives in constant urgency and needs to learn to slow down. Follow me on Spotify and save this episode for when the noise returns. In the description, you'll find the sheet of the 5 Stoic steps to control stress and a journaling guide for your daily practice. Silence your mind, breathe, and remember, calm is also a decision.